we go. All right, we will start tonight's session with you, Maidhon.
Okay.
Second. Scene loads. It is an unusually cold evening. A biting wind howls through the ragged terrain of the Troll Shaws as you make your way home from your latest patrol. You head south toward the angle where a refuge for the Rangers of the North reside, with various outposts stretching over a roughly triangular area between the confluence of two rivers. You keep your eyes vigilant and open as you scan the horizon, ever watchful for signs of danger. For there have been far more sightings of warg and even troll activity in these parts in recent weeks. Can you describe Maidhon for us, please?
Yes, Maidhon is a Dunedain, Ranger of the North. He is in his early 40s, although he looks probably a good 10 to 15 years younger than that, just because the Dunedain do not age as quickly as normal men. And he is about 6.5 feet tall, strongly built, pale skin, brown hair, gray eyes. He is garbed in kind of gray or drab clothing, wears a cloak over his armor with a silver brooch in the shape of a star. Don't ask me how many points. I should know this, but it slipped my mind. But that's traditional for all Dunedain Rangers to wear this silver brooch. It's a symbol of the kingdom of Arnor, and he carries a longbow on his back, a sword at his hip. Not a whole lot else. He's got a pack, with some basic supplies in it, but he tends to travel pretty light. So yeah, that's Maidhon.
All right. For the past week or so, you have been traveling through the Troll Shaws, rolling hills of mixed deciduous forests, hunting, or actually on the trail of what you believe is a troll. The concerning aspect here is that trolls have been venturing much farther west of the Troll Shaws. Some have been spotted even past Weathertop on the way to Bree. The activity has been somewhat alarming in terms of its frequency and ferocity, as many travelers who travel along the Great East Road have been waylaid, and not much of their remains have been found. There's concern amongst the rangers that the trolls are migrating, or perhaps something is compelling them to reach further beyond their traditional borders. However, this particular patrol is coming to a conclusion, and nothing has come up from it. So you're looking forward to a bit of reprieve in the angle on the south side of the Great East Road. And you finally actually cross the road and enter a more friendly area. Again, it's a triangle-shaped piece of land, roughly about 100 miles on each side, that is patrolled heavily by the rangers and is used as their somewhat, I guess you could call it headquarters within Eriador. As you make your way south and through the underbrush, excuse me, you make your way towards the closest outpost, looking for a bit of rest, a place to rest safely. And as you approach it, nestled amongst some ancient trees, you notice a faint glow of a campfire in the distance. The crackling flames beckon you closer, and your pace quickens slightly. The familiar scent of wood smoke fills your nostrils as you step into the clearing. There, seated by the fire, is a face you have not seen for quite some time. A fellow ranger named Halbarad. Actually, I will show a picture of him. Halbarad. There he is. There he is. He is a more senior ranger. His sandy brown hair is turning gray in spots, and you see he's sporting a fresh new scar just below his left eye. He sees you enter the clearing, immediately jumps to his feet, and pulls you into an embrace. A gesture that speaks of years of shared trials and adventures through the wildlands. He pulls back from you and holds you at arm's length, says, I feared you had met your end in those cursed troll shaws, he says, clapping you on the back. I am glad you made it safely back to the angle. Please, join my fire. He gestures for you to sit. And he passes you some roast, let's see, what do you have? Roast rabbit that he has.
Maidhon will gladly take it. 8. It's an 8-pointed star. It completely flew out of my brain, but so yeah, he will take his seat by the fire, accept the offered rabbit, and tear into it with gusto.
Yes. So tell me, Maidhon, have you found your quarry?
Between mouthfuls of rabbit, he will respond, not yet. You said he was tracking a
troll.
Probable troll. Yeah.
Yep.
I've been tracking one of those foul beasts for days now, but strangely it has eluded me.
He stops eating for a moment and wipes his mouth with the back of his sleeve. And there's a concerned look on his face. His brows furrow for a moment, and as he says, I too have been tracking what seems to be a family of trolls, perhaps a mother and 2 children. They make westward towards Bree. I tracked them as far as Weathertop before I lost their trail. I am concerned for the good folk of Bree, and perhaps even the Shire beyond. I feel I should make my way back north, perhaps. Make a round of the Shire. Where are you headed to next, Maidhon?
What direction was he following the troll in? Hello?
Sorry, I was on mute. He was following them westward.
Then he will continue westward.
Okay.
He will note, though, to Albrad that, is it not unusual that we are having trouble tracking these creatures? They are not usually so crafty or so careful.
As that concerns me as well. What I found curious at one point is that they seem to be joined by the tracks of a humanoid. Perhaps a little sturdier than that of a man, perhaps a dwarf. If I were to guess,
Dwarf.
but I do not know what a dwarf would be traveling, why a dwarf would be traveling with a troll.
That is strange indeed.
And it seems to remember almost like totally forgotten a moment earlier. And he pulls out a letter for you. It's a folded piece of paper, sealed with the stamp of, hold on, what is her name again? Gilrain. It's a little crumpled because it was kind of shoved into his pocket in his cloak. It looks like it's been there for several days. So, almost forgot. This is for you from Gilrain herself. And you know Gilrain as the mother of Aragorn, the chieftain of the Rangers of the North.
He'll cock an eyebrow at that and take the letter.
He kind of chuckles at this. What have you done to catch her eye?
I have no idea. He pulls out like a little knife, and he will break the seal with it and then unfold the letter.
It is an invitation to attend council at the Barrow of Aranarth, an ancient and secretive meeting place for rangers within the Angle, typically reserved for the gravest of matters. You are actually scheduled to meet there the following night, which is fortuitous because it is about a day's journey to there from where you are now.
He'll thank Halbrad and tell him that though I enjoy your company, friend, I shan't be tarrying. I have to make good time to the meeting.
Yeah, are you sure you just arrived? You've barely eaten, and it's getting on in the night. Surely, rest. Leave in the morning. Plenty of time.
I will rest, but I won't be able to. What's the word? Tarry beyond morning.
I understand. And gives you a little wink. Says, "What's this about?"
Does it indicate if I should keep it secret or not?
Typically, all communications between rangers are amongst rangers is fine, but beyond the rangers, it shouldn't tell anyone, obviously.
Okay, so it would be all right for me to tell him.
Yes.
Then yeah, I'll tell him. I'll tell him about the meeting.
Oh, sounds intriguing. I'm half inclined to join you.
Did you also receive an invitation?
Alas, no, apparently I'm not as special. Very,
I wonder what I did to deserve such recognition.
I wonder indeed. Well, you fine. You go to your fancy meeting. I'll do the work that you should be doing and hunt those trolls down myself then.
Maidhon just kind of gives him a grin, like, I see what you did there.
He stretches a little bit and says, I don't know about you, brother, but I'm rather tired. I think I shall retire for the night. Avail yourself to the fire and the ale as much as you like.
Maidhon will finish his dinner and take care of a few things, preparations for the morning, and then he'll bed down as well.
Right. The night passes uneventfully. In the morning, you're greeted by the early birds of songs of birds filling the air, and the cool, crisp midsummer morning. You make your way eastward towards the barrow of Aranarth. Aranarth being one of the first rangers of the north after the fall of Arnor. And this barrow is his burial ground. Subsequent chieftains of the rangers were not buried here. They were buried further south. But this is still a place of import to the rangers. And again, as I mentioned before, it's typically reserved for the matters of grave subject matter, or the induction of a new chief. You know at this point as well that Aragorn has traveled south, far south, the lands of Rohan, and perhaps even Gondor. And he's been gone for the last over 2 years now, leaving the Rangers of the North without clear leadership. His mother has been the de facto leader, as all the Rangers of the North do respect her opinion and her temperament. But there are those who might challenge her authority. And as Aragorn's absence it goes beyond what was expected, there are starting to be rumblings amongst the Rangers as to perhaps there should be a new chieftain installed. All right. Can you make a travel check for me, please, as you make your way to the barrow?
Okay.
You can have it at advantage.
Travel. Oh, there it is. Okay. Wisdom. All right, I'm gonna have to do this as just as a D20 roll.
Yep, that's fine.
And then add 4 to this.
Yep.
Did I do that right?
It looks like you rolled 2d20, took the lower of the two. Oh, no.
Okay.
4 was the higher roll. Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Right, so it's an 8 total. Good grief.
Okay, an auspicious start.
You had one job, Maidhon. One job. You're a ranger.
Just get yourself to a meeting. It takes a little longer than you anticipated to get there. What should have been probably the better part of a day, maybe perhaps an 8-hour journey to get there, ends up taking you closer to over 10 hours. And by the time you arrive, it's well past the setting of the sun. And you see waiting at the barrow a number of people. And it seems as though they've been waiting for quite some time.
Of course. You've got plenty of time, he said. You can wait until morning, he said.
You see standing before the barrow in a small circle, Gilrain, a regal figure among the Rangers, and I have a picture of her too. Gilrain. There she is. Where was I? Yes. A regal figure among the Rangers, surrounded by her loyal entourage. Where she is the mother of Aragorn, the current chieftain of the Rangers, and has been afforded a great deal of respect and honor amongst the Rangers. Beside her stands an elf, a tall, golden-haired one wearing a blue robe. And you recognize him as Galdor. As you approach, they all turn to look at you. You can see a little look of concern on Gilrain's face as you approach, and says, I was starting to worry, Maidhon, that you might have been waylaid. But I am happy you have arrived. As she nods her head to acknowledge your arrival.
Yes, I do apologize for the delay.
You turn to Galdor, and he says, Elin sila lumen, momentielvo, which means a star shines on the hour of our meeting. Gilrain then continues and says, Galdor is here as a representative of Rivendell, and your presence has been requested. Galdor continues, I have been tasked with finding you, Maidhon, and return with you to Imladris at once, for a matter of grave importance awaits.
He really pays attention at the mention of Rivendell.
All eyes are now fixed upon you as they wait for you to consent.
Of course.
This what's his name here? Galdor. Very well. I am pleased you have agreed to accompany me. He turns back to Gilrain and says, My lady, we shall leave immediately, you would allow. And Gilrain says, Of course. May the light of Erendil light your path. And he bows, and just as he is about to leave, there is a loud noise emerging from the forest behind you, the cracking of branches, the crunching of dead leaves, and emerging into the light of this circle is another woman and her own entourage. This woman is Arasil. You know her as a confidant and friend to Eriador, the grandfather of Aragorn. However, they were often known to butt heads and never really could agree on much, to the extent that she no longer just wears the star that all the other Rangers of the North do, but she has her own crest, a star encircled by a crescent moon, which she and her entourage all wear openly. She storms into the meeting, and immediately tension fills the air as hands rest on the hilts of swords. Do you do anything at this point?
No, he will just stand by and watch how things unfold.
Without any introduction or greeting, she demands, Gilrain, what is the meaning of this? You hold counsel in my absence. And before she can respond, Arasil continues and says, if there is to be an emissary of the Rangers of the North to Rivendell, it should be one of my choosing. Not yours, Gilrain. You have no authority here. You can see Knuckles starting to turn white as the grips on their swords tightens. Do you still do anything? Wait.
He's not going to act unless he's ordered to.
Okay.
If Gilrain says draw swords, he will. But until then, he's just going to stand by.
Okay. For the first time, Arasil acknowledges Galdor and bows to him and says, Galdor, may I present to you Turgost? He shall go instead of Maidhon to Rivendell with you. Galdor looks a little surprised for a brief moment, but then looks curiously at Gilrain and then back at Arasil and says, I am most sorry, Lady Arasil, but Lord Elrond explicitly asked for Maidhon. You can see that this kind of annoys Arasil to no end and says, Maidhon? What would he have with a pup when Turgot is a far more capable ranger? And you see that she's motioning towards a hulking figure with kind of curly red hair. Kind of looms behind her. He is easily 7 feet tall, this individual, and built like a tank.
A what?
Yeah.
What's this tank of which you speak?
Yeah. Sorry. Learn my metaphors here, or similes. But he is huge, and he glowers at you. And you know Turgos more by reputation than by anything else. And the reputation he has is that he tends to deal with problems through violence as opposed to words, because he seems, rumor has it, that his vocabulary is somewhat limited. And he just stands there glowering at you. Arasil says, perhaps I can convince Lord Galdor that Turgos is, in fact, a more suitable match. Perhaps a contest to prove their worth to you. Galdor pauses for a moment and says, I appreciate your efforts, Lady Arasil. However, my instructions were quite clear. It is Maidhon that I must return to Rivendell with. At this, Arasil visibly spits and says, even the elves forsake reason in this God-forsaken land. Can you make a history check for me, please? With advantage.
It's interesting.
Oh, sorry, old lore. Old lore.
Yeah, I mean, I can, but it's not the right skill.
Sorry, old lore. Thank you.
Lore. Okay, this is just the straight roll, no modifiers.
Okay. All right. We have advantage on this too, so if you want to go for a higher roll, that's cool too. All right, 17. You know Arasil. You know of her history with Eriador and her frequent run-ins with him. Um, um, sorry about that. She has always argued that the Dunedain are wasting their time up here in the northern reaches of Eriador, squandering their strength defending ungrateful and ignorant folk as far as she's concerned. She has argued relentlessly that instead the Dunedain should go south, make a new home on the borders of Gondor, and accept the authority of that city, the steward. Uh, Often she would be heard saying, better it would be to serve in another land and live rather than rotting here in a lost realm and consoling ourselves with tales of kings of old. She is one of the dissenting factions within the Rangers of the North, and she has a growing number of people who are swayed by her arguments, tired of relentlessly fighting monsters and orcs and wargs up here, to what end they start to question themselves. Knowing that, and having her suggest that Turgost and you have a contest of sorts. Although Galdor himself has said that that is not necessary, is there anything you would like to say or do at this point?
Again, I mean, Maidhon's inclination is to let the people in charge sort this out. This is kind of above his pay grade, you know?
Okay. And so she continues on and says, Gilrain, I see you are at a loss of words here. Without your son, Estelle, around. Uh, Estelle is a diminutive name given to Aragorn. It was his childhood name. So the fact that she still uses it shows her disdain for him. Estelle has gone south. Perhaps he is the only one smart enough to amongst us to realize that that is where our future lies. Perhaps we should go down and join him. He is your son, after all. Perhaps it is time. And Gilrain simply smiles at Lady Arasil and says, My dear Lady Arasil, I shall wait here in the north for the return of my son, from whence he can take up the mantle that he is owed. And you should be wise to remember that. That last comment sets Arasil off, and she just storms off with her entourage back into the forest, leaving you, Gilrain and her entourage, and Galdor alone. Galdor, you can see, smiles for a moment. Seems somewhat amused at this interaction. Turns to Gilrain and says, Is Lady Arasil something we should be concerned about? And Gilrain says, Alas, no. She is simply the voice of frustration that runs through our kin. There's a growing shadow being cast across the north, and we do not know whence it comes from. She turns to you, Maidhon, and says, I pray that you are able to serve Lord Elrond in the matters that he deems of most urgent in nature.
I am, of course, at his service.
Very good. Then you should depart at once. From here, it is several days' journey. And with the increase in activity of trolls and wargs in the area, it's best that you travel and cover as many miles as you can, while you can. I'm sorry, Maidhon, that your rest was cut short. I know that you likely wished to visit your own mother in the North Downs, but that will have to wait. She gives you a bow, and the elf looks to you and says, "Shall we then?"
Yes, there's no time to waste.
All right. The two of you leave the ensemble behind, and although it is likely 10, 11 o'clock at night, the two of you move stealthily, silently through the northern reaches of the Angle, heading east toward Rivendell. At this point, we're going to cut across the Rivendell, where it is dawn the following morning. Here we see the first light of dawn painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. As an elven lady stands at one end of the east porch of Rivendell. She was summoned there that morning to meet with Lord Elrond. The tranquil beauty of the valley unfolds before her, with waterfalls cascading down the steep sides, glistening like liquid crystal in the early morning light. Yucaliel, can you please describe your character?
Yes. Yucaliel is a high elf, a Noldor elf. She has long, wavy black hair, um, pale skin. She's somewhat short for an elf. She's just a little bit over 6 foot tall, um, and usually wears a lot more rugged clothes than most of the people who walk around in Rivendell. Um, she spends most of her time out in the forests, so she doesn't really have time for silken dresses and things. And on her shoulder or somewhere nearby her is her trusty uh, raven companion, Fandale.
All right. Um, Take in this breathtaking vista for a moment, and the sense of calm washes over you. The valley is alive with the promise of a new day as the sun rises, casting its warm embrace upon the land. But your reverie is short lived, for something suddenly catches your eye. Can you please make a perception check for me, please?
Okay. Let's see. Perception.
Nice. You squint, and for a moment you're not quite certain of what you see. For an ephemeral moment, you think you glimpse a tall figure, a man clad in flowing white robes with long silver hair, engaged in conversation with Elrond at the far end of the porch. And I have a picture of him here. You immediately recognize him as Saruman. As quickly as he appears, he vanishes. And for a
Like
brief
steps away or completely disappears.
He takes a step back and disappears.
Gotcha. Okay.
And for a moment, you begin to doubt what you have just witnessed, whether
Mm-hmm.
perhaps it was just a trick of dawn light or an illusion born of the valley's enchantment. But you see Lord Elrond turn and take in the vista of the valley himself, waiting for you to approach.
Okay. Um, yeah, I will. I will approach Elrond. Um, I guess like once I come within speaking distance, I will just say, "My lord, did I see someone with you just a moment ago?"
Yes, I took counsel with Saruman, and he turns to look at you,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see. I mean, Elrond is not the most cheerful guy
Mm-hmm.
around, but this his demeanor this morning is one of seems much more serious than normal. Um, he continues on, making no further mention of Saruman,
Mm-hmm.
and says, "A messenger was dispatched from Isengard over a month ago on horseback. She should have reached Rivendell by now, but she is missing, disappeared into the shadows of uncertainty. What troubles me is the message she carries, ominous burden that must not fall in the wrong hands. She,
Should we send someone out?
that is why I summons you here. I wish for you to find this Dunlending. Her name is Orla, and she is in service to Saruman. She carries with her secrets that may be the very undoing of Imladris. You must find her and recover the message that she bears."
Of course. Do we know where she was last seen?
She was last seen passing through Tharbad, so she is likely on the Greenway, somewhere between Tharbad and Bree. You are to begin your search at Bree and then proceed south from there along the Greenway until you reach Tharbad. She must be somewhere between these two towns.
Of course. I'll leave right away.
You will leave on the morrow, where we await the arrival of your escort. The lands to the south are wild and full of and fraught with danger, bandits, and perhaps even worse. You have yet to prove yourself, Yucaliel.
I just crossed my arms. Really? All
He
right.
raises an eyebrow when you cross your arms at him.
Impetuous 600-year-olds.
Yes. Yes. She's a Halvin teenager. What can you say?
Your guide and escort will be a ranger. I believe you might be acquainted with him already. Maidhon.
Oh, well then maybe this won't be that bad. I guess that's all right.
I've summoned him here, and he should be here within the day. You shall depart tomorrow. You'll be given our fastest steeds. See
Thank
that you
you.
care for them and return with them safely.
Of course.
And you must travel with discretion. There are spies of the enemy everywhere. It would do you no good to announce yourself as a lady of Rivendell traveling in the company of a Dunedain.
Should I try to hide the fact that I am elven at all, or
Perhaps leave your cloak hood up.
understood?
For what I fear this message bears is true, then the elves of Rivendell may be the target.
I will make sure to get that information back.
He nods and says, you shall leave on the morrow, as I mentioned. Take the day to prepare.
Thank you.
He
And I will
nods.
bow and leave if it seems like he's dismissed me.
Yes, he certainly has, as he turns his back to you and starts to gaze over the valley again.
Okay.
Is there anything or anyone you'd like to talk to before you leave?
I mean, I'm going to hear it if I don't at least visit my father before I leave.
All
So
right.
I will go visit my father.
You find him in the library, the vast library, uh, in the lower rooms of Rivendell. Later that morning, poring over some ancient texts. He almost barely notices your arrival as he just continues to mumble these words as he reads through these ancient texts.
Um, I'll wait a little bit watching him, seeing if he ever notices me. Um, but assuming that he doesn't, eventually I will just kind of like carefully, because I don't want to damage what he's looking at, kind of like snatch it from his hand to get his attention.
He just lets out a long, exasperated sigh at this. Yucaliel, what may I do for you, my dear?
Well, there's good news. I have been given a mission, a quest even.
He looks at
I'm
you.
leaving Imladris.
He genuinely perks up and looks directly at you. Where will you be going?
Do I think that I'm not supposed to tell him? Or
I'll leave
because I
that up
know that
to
it's like a
you.
secret elsewhere, but I don't really think that I feel like it's a secret among the elves of Rivendell.
That is a good question. He didn't explicitly tell you not to tell anyone else. He just
Okay.
meant you that to be discreet on the road.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I think Yucaliel is a little too excited to let him know. So yeah, I'll just say I'm I'm going to be heading towards Bree, uh, searching for a lost messenger.
You can see concern cross his face as he stands now before you, and he reaches to touch your arms. And he looks straight into your eyes and says, "But why you? Why has Lord
Because
Elrond chosen you?"
because it's about time, that's why. I'm ready.
Could he not have chosen somebody else? Perhaps someone more suited for travel?
Well, I won't be alone. There's a ranger that's going to be traveling with me, if that makes you feel a little bit better.
Which ranger?
Maidhon, you
I
do
am
remember him.
pleased. I do. I am pleased. He's a man of integrity. But still, I would have thought there would be more suitable elven lords that would be up for this task. Why would he choose my daughter? These, the fading days of our lives here. You do know that the enemy, his gaze has fallen northward to
Yes,
Eriador.
perhaps that's exactly why I'm being sent. Someone unknown to the people beyond this valley, better able to move discreetly.
When your mother left for the Grey Havens, I made her a solemn promise that I would keep you safe until we could join her in Valinor.
I know, Father, but I'm not going to Valinor until I've done something. And this is something.
Why why don't you join me here in the library? There's so much yet to still archive and to capture before we leave. So much I could certainly use your help.
I have helped you in the past, and I will help you in the future. This is just uh, a brief reprieve from organizing. I'll return.
How long will you be gone?
I don't know, but if things go well and I find this missing messenger quickly, I will return and I'll only be gone as long as the journey takes. You won't even notice, I promise.
The shadows grow long, my daughter, and our time here is coming to an end. Please, I will ask you once more. Reconsider. I can speak with Lord Elrond and find someone else to go in your stead.
No, Lord Elrond trusted me with this. Can't you trust me?
This is folly. We should have left with your mother when we had a chance.
Well, you could always go
No. As long as you remain here in Middle Earth, I shall ensure your safety, but it would seem that you will soon be out of my reach.
For the first time.
He kind of looks at you.
You know,
Oh,
yes,
what do
he's
you
like
mean
a
by that?
little bit excited about that.
You are too much like your mother at times.
I will take that as a compliment. I could have left without telling you, Father.
And when will you be leaving?
Tomorrow morning. As long as my escort is here by then. I don't
As
think
long as he
he's very
doesn't botch his
punctual.
rolls.
Yeah, I don't think he's very punctual. It's one of his weaknesses.
Then I shall be there to bid you off. Now, if you will excuse me, Yucaliel, I have much more archiving to do.
Of course. I apologize for interrupting you, and I handed the paper back.
And you can tell that your father is simply just trying to suppress all of the concern
Yeah.
he has for you as he dives back into his work once more.
I will leave him to it.
Is there anyone or anything else you'd like to do or see or before the following morning when Maidhon will arrive?
May arrive.
Might
May.
arrive. Yep.
Yeah, may arrive.
I think I would be curious to kind of scope out what wondrous steeds we have been loaned. So I'm gonna go to the stables and see if I can go find out which new horse friend I have.
All right. You see that there are two beautiful black stallions being prepared for you. They're being groomed and their bit and bridle and saddles are all being checked over and prepared for your journey. These are exceptional steeds.
Nice. I will go up to one of them and sort of pet it softly and just say, "We're going on an adventure. Aren't you excited?" And technically, I can speak to animals, so it could
Okay.
respond if it so chooses.
All right. Can you make an animal handling check for me, please? With advantage.
Okay. All right. Animal handling advantage. 23.
Nice.
Nice. It bows its head to you. I am at your service, Lady Yucaliel. I am Bethril.
Wonderful. I will take wonderful care of you, as I'm sure you will of me. And I hope you get along well with Vando. And I kind of like shrug my shoulder to see if Vando will uh, like fly over and perch somewhere.
All right. The raven. It is a raven, right? Not a crow?
Yes.
Okay.
It is a raven.
The raven just alights from your shoulder and flies up into the rafters of the stable and kind of just stands there, looks down, gives a loud caw,
Mhm. I think I will leave you to get acquainted with each other. Um, I have packing to do. What are your favorite treats? I will try to pack some.
He looks up at you a little surprised and says, "Wow, I am partial to apples."
All right. I'll bring as many apples as I can sneak away.
He gives a little neigh at that and approval, a little bit of a stomp, excited for the next day's travel and his
Hmm.
apples.
Yep. And I will head back to begin packing and plead like, like a bag of apples from someone.
Okay, you can make your way down to the kitchen and plead for a bag of apples. Go ahead and make a persuasion check for me, please.
Okay. Let's see. Not great at this, but we'll see.
Wow.
I am a bit of a bratty elf, so I get it.
So, as soon as you enter the kitchen, it seems as though the kitchen staff are in a bit of a tizzy, hurrying, um, perhaps for a new arrival of a guest or something, perhaps. Um, and as soon as you come in there, before you even have get a word out to ask for apples, they just kind of shoo you out.
Okay. Um, do I know if we have like local apples, like an apple orchard that I can
Not
maybe attempt to
within
pick
the
my own?
valley, no.
Okay. I didn't
Um,
think so.
there is a storeroom though, so if you want to like raid the storeroom, you can try to do so.
Hmm. I did promise that horse that I would have apples. Even if it's just one apple, I want to have apples. So, yeah, I'm gonna
Alrighty.
go try to get some apples.
Okay, make a stealth stealth check for me, please.
Okay. Another thing I'm not great at. Hang on. Let me see. Uh, I have things that I can use. Hang on. I'm going to um yeah, I'm gonna use one of my rhymes of lore. Uh Sort of like whisper under my breath some ancient poem about, you know, sneaking unseen, the darkness.
Okay.
And let me go ahead and roll this stealth. And then I will
All right.
add hang on, let me double check and see what it is. It is a D6. Okay, I
Nice.
will add a D6 to that. Go from here. Oh, a D6.
All right.
16.
16, that's good enough. It seems as though the kitchen staff are too busy preparing whatever meal that they're working on to notice you kind of surreptitiously sneak past them and into the storeroom. Um,
Nice.
you have in front of you sacks of fruits, vegetables, breads, dried meats. What would you like to take?
Um, does it look like we have like a substantial amount of, say, apples that like I could take a bag and it wouldn't harm the proceedings any?
Well, these bags are like they're the big bags of apples,
Large
like
ones.
the
I would
20
fill
pound
like a
bags.
small bag, so it would
Okay.
be like, like 6 to 8 apples.
And
Not
where are you
huge
going to place 6 to 8 apples?
in my bag.
Okay.
Or, ooh, are there any like little like smaller sackcloth bags sitting in here anywhere?
Not just sitting in here. You'd have to empty another one out to make.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I will empty out a sackcloth bag of
Okay.
potatoes or something.
Okay. All right.
And put the apples in there.
You try to make the pile of potatoes on the floor as neat as possible.
Yep.
As you take that sack and stuff your
I set them up in a little pyramid of potatoes.
okay. You got yourself, let's say, 8 apples then in
Okay.
this little sack.
All right. And I know I'm gonna have like my own provisions, but do I know? Does Maidhon have a favorite snack?
Let's
Or am I like, I'm sure he likes jerky, and just
there you
like,
go. Yeah, that's probably the extent of it.
okay, yes, I will grab
The,
like,
a simple man with simple tastes.
yep.
Yeah.
I grab just like a handful of jerky and drop it into the bag with the apples, and I'm like, all right, we're good, we're ready.
Yeah. I mean, up until now, the extent of your contact with Maidhon has been really him visiting Rivendell,
Yeah,
either
yeah.
by invitation or in the company of other rangers, to take
I've
counsel
probably
with
like
the
seen
Elven
him more
Lords.
from afar. Yeah,
Yeah, so you wouldn't necessarily know what his favorite foods are or whatever.
preferences. Yeah.
And you certainly
Okay.
have not had any experience traveling with him.
Okay.
On that note, Maidhon, can you make a travel check for me, please?
Do you
I can
arrive on
try.
time?
You will
All
have
right,
advantage
so
because you do have an elf, a high elf with you.
all right, so I'm hoping that this works correctly, and it did. Woot!
It didn't roll with
Yeah.
advantage though.
What?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. It doesn't have the plus next to it.
Yeah, when you roll it, you have to kind of move your mouse up. And you
I dragged it and
drag it up. Okay, weird.
yeah.
Weird.
I mean, I can try doing it
Just,
again.
just
but-
try rolling another travel again.
All right. Yeah, because it says drag to modify, and I did.
Hmm.
Weird.
I remember that you guys were having problems
Wow.
with that last time too.
Yeah, we did. Odd.
Because what I did is I basically just redid all the skills as actions.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And so I don't
Okay.
know if that's a bug or something with the actions.
Cool.
Interesting.
You
I'll have to check
arrive
that
on
out.
time, maybe.
Yes, in fact, you make up some time. So you arrive later that afternoon.
He's got something
Rivendell.
to prove now.
And I'm going to shift for a brief moment. Bree. It is late at night when we find a surly dwarf working in a stonemason workshop, working later than usual to get a particularly trying job done for a particularly demanding customer in Bree who insists that his chimney be done as quickly as possible. So you have worked late into the night, Zuric. Can you describe your character and what they're doing in their workshop?
Yeah, you see a. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Test. Okay. Yeah, you'll see a surly dwarf, as our lore master said. I'd imagine he is wearing heavy work boots and maybe a leather apron with pouches in the front where he keeps his tools, his chisel, his hammer, and just workman's clothes, sleeves rolled up, bald head gleaming with perspiration, and It has been such a long day that the braids of his beard have started to come undone, so he's looking rather haggard.
All right. So you look forward to finally being able to close up your shop, tamp down the fire in your hearth, and make your way over to the Inn of the Prancing Pony for a well-deserved pint of ale.
I'll hang up my apron and my tools and just head over in my workman's clothes.
Well, before you have a chance to do so, you notice earlier in that evening it was a bit of a drizzle going on outside, and by the time you close up shop, it is a torrential downpour outside. So you take an extra second to grab a heavier cloak to protect yourself from this midsummer rain. And just as you're about to open your door, you hear a loud knock.
Who is it? Go away. We're closed.
You hear first silence and then a gruff voice on the other side. I'm looking for Zuric.
Who's doing the looking?
A friend with a gift.
Does that friend have a name?
Indeed he does, but not one that you would know.
So who's he a
It
friend of?
is rather wet out here. I would rather have this conversation indoors if you would be so kind.
Zuric shrugs, having lived and breathed the humans' hospitality has worn his dwarven skin thin. You said it's raining outside. Do you want to come in?
That would be lovely, thank you.
Is it just you out there?
It is just me.
All right, Zuric will unlock the door with an audible sound and take a couple steps back and grab a hammer on his workbench. Come on in.
All right. You see standing on the other side of the door a man wearing a heavy rain cloak over his frame. He seems rather wiry, not a particularly big man. And he quickly just takes a step in, stamps his boots, kind of shakes his cloak off and sprinkles you with a little bit of the rainwater. And you can see past him, it is pouring outside.
Well, shut the door. Don't just stand there.
He turns around kind of quickly and kind of like caught off guard for a moment and shuts the door and pulls his hood back. And you see a man, probably middle-aged, kind of has a gruff beard. Where is he? I'll show you his picture. He is. It kind of looks like an angry Mel Gibson that hasn't shaved for quite some time.
So just Mel Gibson.
And just much obliged. Thank you for letting me in.
Save the niceties. Go warm yourself by the fire. Zuric will take a couple steps back, give him a wide berth, and sort of extend his arm as if to usher him towards the hearth to warm himself.
All right. He does not take his cloak off, but he does accept your invitation to advance to the hearth. So he kind of tromps through your workshop in his wet boots and cloak, heads to the fireplace and says, My name is Diremok. And he extends his hands out to the fire to warm them up, and kind of starts rubbing them together.
So you said you're a friend. A friend of who?
I've come to warn you.
Warn me of what?
His back is to you as he continues speaking, facing the hearth, and he says, "You are Zuric, son of Mudrik. You arrived in Bree, what, just
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Did you read that in the book somewhere? No secret. Everybody knows it.
Your father left you.
No. No, he didn't. He went on an errand.
Your father is not coming back.
Yes, he is. He told me he would.
He turns to you, and you can see a look of grief on his face. You can tell that this man has spent a large portion, likely, of this recent time in tears. His eyes are somewhat bloodshot. His cheeks are even somewhat tear-stained still. And he says, I know the loss of someone close can be bitter. But I have come here with these harsh words as a warning to you.
What do you know of my father? Don't worry about warning me. Tell me what you know. Prove yourself not a liar. Telling tales about that which you do not know.
He reaches under his cloak. And can you make an insight check for me, please?
I can try. I think I did. Anything come through?
Nope.
I have a +3 on this. Let's try this.
There it is. 16 plus 3 is 19. All right. You can see him visibly shaking now as he reaches under his cloak. He pulls his hand out, and he holds in it a very narrow, sharp dagger. He places it on a table near him, almost as if it were toxic or poisonous for him to touch. Just kind of drops it there. I was sent here to kill you, but I am no murderer, no assassin.
You may have been sent here to try. Why do you lay down your weapon?
I am tired. I'm a fisherman. I am not a murderer. But when a man is desperate, You might be surprised at the extent of the actions that they are willing to take.
If you're trying to get me to care about you, you're failing. You have news of my father? Say it.
Where did your father say he was going?
Back home to the to Eriador, the Blue Mountains. You may know them as.
I do know of them, but I can tell you this much. Your father never made it. I've said too much. And he pulls his cloak up around him over his head again, and he makes the kind of move past you towards the door.
Zuric will stand in front of the door and block his way. You haven't told me everything. You're not leaving here till you do.
I have spared your life. I have warned you of impending danger to your life. I've told you that your father is not returning. Those are all things that will likely get me killed. I ask that you just let me go.
On one condition. Tell me how you know my father's not returning. What of him and how do you know? And then I will let you leave.
He
If you
pauses
tell
and
me the truth.
takes a breath for a moment and says, your kin, the dwarven folk from the Blue Mountains from whence you came, how well do you know them?
I left when I was but a wee dwarf. I remember the good times. I remember the work, but it was good work. It was productive. I remember the song. I remember the dance. I remember the oar. He sort of looks up to the corner of the ceiling to take a little mental memory journey back to home. I remember it well.
Those memories. I cannot tell you if they are lies or not, but I can tell you that your home is no longer what you remember it to be, and your kin. Be careful of your kin. That is all I can say. Please let me go.
Zuric will stare him down, grab the handle of the door, speechless, open the door, and step to the side.
He gives you a curt nod and says, I wish you good health, Master Dwarf. I would hope that no harm come to you, as it is too late for me. And he takes a step out into the rain and walks down the street and out of sight.
Zuric will say this aloud, but not necessarily enunciating it for him to hear. Diremok, if that is your name, I will remember you.
He pauses for a moment and kind of just turns his head to one side to acknowledge that he heard you, but then just continues on.
Zuric will shut and lock the door, and cop a squat on one of his barrels, just sort of contemplate what just happened.
Okay.
Not something he really expected at the end of a long work day.
All right. We are going to return back to Rivendell. Maidhon and Galrod have returned to Rivendell, or have arrived at Rivendell. The horses are ready and have been brought forward, and you are ready to depart on your journey to Bree. Standing there, aside from the stable master, who seems more concerned about the horses than the riders, is your father, Yucaliel.
I just sort of smile and just say, "You said you'd be here. I honestly expected that you wouldn't be, but I appreciate it."
He just nods. Says,
Any parting words of wisdom for me?
he genuinely looks destroyed.
Yucaliel feels a little bad.
He says, I cannot protect you out there, my daughter. And I fear for you, and this land will soon be swallowed by shadow, and there will be no light for us.
Well, you didn't name me a daughter of Twilight for nothing. I can see very well in the dark, and I have many companions with me to watch over me in your stead. I'll be back.
And I shall wait for your return. But promise me this. When you do, we shall go to Valinor together.
Yes. When I return, we can go west.
At that, he smiles faintly. Then, travel well, my dear, and return to me soon.
In Yucaliel's head, she's like, well, now I'm really going to stay out for a while if this is my only trip.
All
But,
right.
she remains composed and just nods and goes to prepare to head out with Maidhon. I hand over the jerky that I sneaked out of the storage room.
Okay.
And it's like, I brought you a present. And I just hand him a handful of jerky.
All right.
He takes it, he sniffs it, takes a little bite, smiles, puts it in his pocket.
As you arrive, Maidhon, you're immediately greeted by this little welcoming / farewell party. And a horse is brought to you, a beautiful black stallion. The reins are passed to you, and the stable master says, this is Bathron. He will serve you well. Take care of him.
Yeah. Can you type out the names for both of our horses?
Sure. Bethril is yours, Yucaliel.
Okay.
And Bathron is yours, Maidhon.
Okay. I will.
Okay.
Shoot.
All right. Galdor, bows his head to you, Maidhon, and says, "This is where we part ways. Have a safe journey." May this light of Erendil light your path and bring you safely back to us.
And he'll return the pleasantries.
Is there anything else either of you would like to do at Rivendell before you head west to Bree?
I think this might have been something that I did the day before as I was preparing, but um, could I have kind of like ransacked the library for like, um, you know, maps and important books about things that I might be coming across um, as I head to Bree, that kind of thing?
Sure. Go ahead and make an investigation check.
Okay. All right. Do.
Now, this is a place that your father often hangs out at.
Mhm.
Are you okay with him being there while you do this?
Yeah, because if he asks anything, I'll just say that I am preparing for a journey and, you know, he wants me to come back okay, right?
Oh, he'll
So,
ask you if you want his help in this research.
yes, yes. If he kind of like notices me sort of rummaging through the papers, I will definitely ask for help.
Okay, then you will have advantage on this roll.
Okay. Just like a teenager, immediately thinking that he's mad at me. It's like, "Oh no, I just want to help." Oh, okay then.
All right.
18.
So you do manage to find some maps of this area between Rivendell and Bree, and even beyond into the Shire. Some lore that you can probably pick up. Your father's willing to part with some of these books
Okay.
if you would like to take them, but they are rather large.
Well, now that I know that I have a horse to carry some things, um, yeah, I don't want to bring, a huge amount, but like, you know, two or three good like encyclopedic books that have like various different topics.
Okay. What topics would you like it to cover? I'll say you can cover three main like broad areas of things.
Okay. Let's see. Definitely like stuff about the geography
Okay.
of the area.
All right.
Um, Probably like you know, an herbalism book, like the natural herbs of,
Okay. Fauna,
and
flora.
yeah.
Okay.
And then for some light reading on the road, some history of like the kingdoms of man or something, just so
Okay.
that
Yep.
since she's gonna be heading to Bree.
Okay.
Yep. So I think
Okay.
that's what I want to bring
Perfect.
with.
All right. Just wanted to keep track of that so we had the
Mhm.
right information for you. All right. So Maidhon, is there anything else you want to do before you head out? I'll take that as a no. I'm not sure if you're on mute or not.
Oh, good grief! Sorry, I was muted. I said no. Maidhon has his ride, he has his charge, and he has his jerky, so he's good to go.
Okay. So, question for you. First question: are you going to stick to the Great East Road, or are you going to meander off of it. If you stick to the road, your travel will take you roughly 8.5 days. You'll arrive there on the ninth day. If you decide to go into the wilderness off the road, it's going to take substantially longer. You were given enough rations for 10 days.
Okay. Has there been trouble on the road lately? Is there a reason to avoid it?
Well, based on your conversation earlier with your fellow ranger, there have been travelers along the Great East Road that have been attacked.
So that I didn't catch that actually extended all the way to the
Yeah,
road.
as far east as Weathertop.
Okay. Well, I feel like with our horses, we could probably outrun anything that might try to waylay us. So we'll stick to the road unless circumstances dictate otherwise.
All right. Since you are the warden in this particular case, and you know this area well, I'm going to have you roll the travel check for me, please, just to make sure. I mean, it is the Great East Road. There's only one road. It's hard to get lost on it. But let's just see if there's anything untoward that might happen along the way.
All right, just a straight roll, right?
It'll be with advantage.
All right, let's see if this actually works. It didn't. I'm definitely dragging it up. It's just not recognizing that for some reason.
Okay. It's very likely a bug. But 23 is going to definitely be more than sufficient. Okay. So it is a 9-day journey along the Great East Road. It takes you roughly 4 days to get to the last bridge, which crosses the cruel waters. And as you do so, there are stories told about this river of men who have drowned here during the last Great War, and their souls trapped here, still thirsting for revenge, calling up and trying to entice people to join them in the waters below. But all that's just fairy tales. Scare the children to keep them away from the rivers, mainly. Continue along east for another several days, passing Weathertop as you do so. The ruins of a large tower atop a stony outcropping, until you pass what are the Midgewater Marshes just outside of Bree. And as you get closer to Bree in the final days of your journey, the weather has turned. For most of your trip, it has been quite pleasant and sunny and mild. But on this last day, the weather's turned to rain. And by the time you arrive in Bree on the 9th day, and actually I'll say with that roll, you made up some time and you arrive there late on the 8th day instead. It is pouring rain when you arrive at the gates. And it is past the time that the gates typically stay open. Change scenes here. 1 second. Find yourselves outside of Bree. The gates are closed. What would you like to do?
I guess I'll just turn to Maidhon and just say, should we knock at the gate? Do you think they'll let us in? I've got my hood up, by the way, like really close, like they told me to.
Yeah, Maidhon dismounts, his boots splashing in the mud. walks over to the gate and raps on the door inset in it.
Sorry, you see an elderly man kind of grumbling to himself, complaining. Oh, kind of manner of traveler road at this time of night in this weather. And then you hear a slide across the door as a little viewport opens up at your hut. And he looks up at you. You're still on horseback, I'm assuming?
Nope, I dismounted.
You dismounted?
I'm
Okay.
still on horseback though.
Okay.
And I made sure that my raven is like flying above so that it doesn't look like a raven just sitting on my shoulder.
Okay. And who goes there at this time of night?
Maidhon will. Actually, I should probably come up with a nickname for him.
Do you have cover names?
Well, like Strider, like something like that.
Yeah.
They all have code names. Rangers all have code names.
Yep.
007. Gosh, what will I call? Sorry, I should have had something like this prepared before.
No worries.
It just occurred to me.
We'll just tell you. Well, you can come up with a decent name later. We can retcon it in.
Yeah.
Only level 1. To grow into your code name.
Yeah. Well, he's got gray eyes, so let's call him Steel Gazer.
Oh, nice. Okay. Is that how you respond then?
Yes, call me
Right.
Steel Gazer.
He looks at you again. He's holding a lantern up closer to the hole so he can get a better look at you. And you can see him kind of squinting and peering at you. Oh, you're a ranger, aren't you?
Is that a problem?
And he looks past you up at Yucaliel, still sitting on the horse. And who's that?
I'll just kind of speak relatively softly, but they can hear me. It's just softly, and just say, "My name's Callie."
Callie. And a ranger. I'm not supposed to let anyone in at this hour, you know.
It's raining, though. Can't we please get out of the rain?
He looks up and says, yeah, I know it's raining. I'm standing here in the rain because you knocked when you're not supposed to be here.
We are all standing in the rain and would prefer not to be. We were delayed on the road, arrived late. We would like to find lodgings for the evening. Let us through and we will bother you no longer.
Can both of you make a perception check, please? And Maidhon, can you make yours at disadvantage? Because I don't think you have any kind of low light vision.
Yeah. Okay. Perception. Oh.
All right.
Wow.
That's fine.
Apparently my hood's in the way.
Yeah, apparently.
All right.
So it's just... You can see him humming on. Get your sorry wet asses in here. And you can hear him unlatching the gate, and you can like slowly swinging the big gate open to allow your horses to come through, and says, so much traffic tonight. Unbelievable. And you're able to walk past him and into Bree. And
Your
says,
hospitality overwhelms me, sir. Thank you.
yeah. And he just kind of ignores you and closes the gate behind you. And just not two buildings in, you see sign for the Inn of the Prancing Pony.
Nice. As we get closer, I will kind of like whisper to Maidhon and just say, "Did you hear him? He said that there's a lot of visitors tonight." I didn't think it was a good idea for us to ask him, but maybe we could ask at the inn.
I'm sure the innkeep will know something. It's
Did you
his
like my
business.
nickname that I thought up?
It was quite clever, my lady.
I didn't think it was a good idea to use my elven name. So,
As you approach the inn, you can see a couple of hobbits. They look
Oh,
quite young. Sorry, is there something you want to before you do that?
yeah. Whenever he refers to you in the third person, he always says Lady Yucaliel, by the way. Like
gotcha.
you'll have noticed this
Mm-hmm.
since meeting up at Rivendell.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of young hobbits. These basically like teenager type hobbits come running out in the rain, cloaks pulled over their heads. To you, they look like the size of like I don't know 6-year-old children, but here they are trying to take the reins from you and guide your horses into stables. And they say, "Go on inside. We'll take care of your horses. Don't worry. Don't you worry."
I will hand an apple to one of them. Actually, I'll hand 2 apples and say to feed each of the horses these apples because they had a hard travel.
Ah. And he says, "Will do, ma'am. You best get inside now, though. You'll get your death of cold in this rain."
Maidon will pat Rathron on the side and head in.
Hmm.
All right. At this point, I'm going to call upon our hobbits.
Yay!
You have arrived at the Inn of the Prancing Pony a little before the elf and the ranger have. You have stabled your horses. The cart has been pulled inside into their protected area. And you have been brought into the common room of the Prancing Pony. Greeting you is the innkeeper. Just give you a shot of him. He introduces himself as Barnabas. Barnabas? Yes, Barnabas. Hold on 1 second. I gotta get this name right. I always get this mixed up. Barnabas Butterbur. But he insists on being called Barney. And he says, "Well, hello, little masters. Are you here looking for rooms?"
Barney, don't you recognize me? Wasn't I supposed to be dropping off a keg of ale with you?
He looks down over the counter at you and sees you. Oh, and he puts a finger to his nose and gives you a wink. "Of course, and you have that delivery for me?"
Actually, we ran into some difficulties coming here, and I'll have to make it up to you. Really sorry.
There will be some sorry patrons in my inn tonight, but no matter. I'm glad you arrived here safely nonetheless. I shall announce you to the room. And who, may I say, is your guests? Sir.
I'll let them introduce themselves.
Barney? Was it Barney? Hi, Barney. I'm Marigold. I'm just delivering honey from my family's farm, but we needed to stop for the night because we got in so late.
Oh,
And-
honey. Is any of that honey for sale?
I'm supposed to get it to market, so I suppose you could get early access.
Be much obliged. You know, cut me a good deal. I perhaps could do a repeat order, maybe, if the honey's good.
Oh, for sure. Certainly, certainly. You know, our bees actually feed on wildflowers out of the old forest.
Is that the same
You know, not in
old
the Shire proper, but in Buckland.
forest? Isn't that forest haunted?
Only with our bees.
Okay, good to know. I still might stay clear of that forest if I were you, but anyway, what do I know about beekeeping? Please, and your name?
Marigold Banks.
Okay. He slides, he has this big book that he has on top here. And because obviously out of reach for you hobbits, he kind of takes it and puts it down on a smaller little table that you can sign your name. And so what do you sign in his guest book?
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and put in my chop and yeah. And
Okay.
ask him how much the rooms are for the night, or maybe we could make a deal for some jars of honey for his patrons.
You said Nob tells me you have a cart and a pony as well.
That's right.
So all together, and there's what, 3 of you, and I'm assuming you'll want breakfast in the morning too. What is a hobbit
Maybe
without
2.
first? Of course. What am I thinking? Well, that'll be a total of let's say 2 silver for a lot of you.
Oh, cousin, you can pay that, can't you, please?
They'll have to. Marigold will turn towards Turk and kind of start, rustling around in purses and looking at pennies and such. And
1 penny, 2
glancing
pennies.
over to Goldie, hopefully. I know that Anna's not here. But I'm assuming this is something that she'd be willing to go in for also.
Yeah.
Yeah, just over the table. I can't cover it entirely, but I think between the 3 of us, we could scrounge it together. So I'll just kind of look plaintively. Marigold would look plaintively from her purse to Turk and Goldie and go, I can cover some of that, but I don't think all of it. Mr. Barney, if we wanted to make a deal for providing exclusive early access to the masters of the Prancing Pony to Banks Honey, do you think we could make a deal?
Can you make a persuasion check for me, please?
Oh, sure.
By the way, Barney, that honey makes the best mead this side of Rivendell.
All right.
All right.
And why is everything so cluttered right now? Gosh. There we go.
And he listen, I can tell this is your first, let's just say, mercantile trip to Bree, and you seem like a nice young hobbit. question your company. And he gives Turk a side look. But nonetheless, listen, I'll give you a good deal. Let's just call it a silver, and you give me 5 of your bottles of honey, and we'll call it even.
Oh, for certain. We can make that happen. I'll have to bring it in from the cart, but that shouldn't be any issue.
Very good. Anytime. It's pouring rain out there. You go out there when it's a little more dry, I suppose. I wouldn't want you getting all soaked on my account.
Speaking
Oh,
of
well, thank you kindly, sir.
speaking of going outside, Barney, is there perhaps a healer in the house tonight?
A healer?
Someone you know who might be able to patch up some scratches from the road.
Well, we have a barber, and I think they might even be in here tonight.
We can.
So, quick question for you guys: what are you doing with the body? Because that was on the cart.
Well,
And
yes,
secondly,
you really didn't give us a chance to
Yeah.
sort of. make
Sorry, I
that
forgot about that.
transition.
And
Yeah,
what are you
go
doing
on.
with the box, Marigold?
Once the cart is pulled in, I'd probably go grab it. Because if we're being ushered off from the cart and Ted is being managed by stable hands, like, I see it as kind of like Marigold would be kind of wowed at the idea of what is basically valet and service. The big city. So yeah, she'd definitely go back out for the box, and then as far as the body, I think Turk is exploring that now.
Refresher, I don't think she expired, did she?
No, but she's not moving a whole lot.
Yes, which is why I was asking about the. So what Turk has done? He knows the 2 hobbits that are the stable hands, and he gives them a silver piece between them to keep quiet.
Okay.
I don't know if you want me to make a roll.
Yes, I do.
Persuasion.
Persuasion, please.
I shall do so.
And when you make this, do you make it clear to them that there's a body there, or did you try and cover it, or just ask them
No.
to stay out of it?
Good question. Thank you. Basically saying we've got some goods that need to be sold. We need these secure. Please, keep your nose out of them, because hobbits know better than to look where hobbits aren't allowed to look. So we've got some things that are going to be for sale. Please keep an eye on them tonight. I'm going to be coming back in, so I'm going to know if you do. We're checking up every now and then. Okay, guys? But here, silver piece for both. Not for both of you, a silver piece between you.
Okay. Can you make that a persuasion check with advantage, please?
Hey, advantage
right.
works for me.
All right. You have wowed these 2 teenage hobbits. They have never seen like a real silver piece given to them as a tip from anyone. So they're like, oh, of course, sir. Of course, we'll park it in their special spot and back in the stable, and then we'll make sure nobody touches it.
A nice dry spot. No roof leaks.
Of course.
No roof leaks.
No roof leaks.
Okay. And we might have some people coming out to look at some of these things for sale. You know what I'm saying.
No, say no more. Not a problem.
Wonderful.
All right. Okay, so that's so the body's still in the cart. You are back in common room. You are escorted in by Barney, who declares Master Turk, accompanied by Lady Marigold, welcome to the Inn of the Prancing Pony. And he also introduces Goldie as well. You walk into this room, and it's quite full. patrons drinking ale, talking. You hear a musician playing in the back. There's a hearth on one side, around which you see three men dressed a little differently than everyone else. You could tell they're not from Bree, possibly travelers from beyond, kind of in a huddled conversation. And you see a dwarf sitting by himself at a table. Where would you like to go?
Cousin, we need to get the barber. Do you know who the barber is?
Well, you're more familiar with the folk here. So maybe you could arrange that, but I need to go check on something in the cart super fast. And maybe bring in a few of those jars for Mr. Barney.
Okay, cuz you do that. Make
I'm
sure those
trusting you.
yeah, make sure those two young hobbits aren't getting into mischief.
Of course.
I imagine the barber is the one with the worst hair.
Go ahead and make a perception check as you do a scan of the room.
Okay. Da, 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 da. Just roll it by itself.
All right. You look around. You can narrow it down to maybe 2 or 3 individuals. You're not quite sure, but the rest are either too not dressed appropriately as like a barber would you would expect a barber would be, or yeah, perhaps a few 2 or 3. You can narrow it down to.
Okay. I'll go up to the nearest one.
Okay.
Pardon me, sir. Good sir. Are you perhaps the barber in Bree?
He looks over at you and then realizes you're a little shorter than the average person in this town. He looks down at you and says, just kind of shakes his head no, and he points across the room at one of the other people that you had clocked.
Oh, cheers very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you kindly. Have a good evening. Try to stay dry.
He gives you a strange little nod and continues on drinking with his friends.
I probably maybe would have picked up a pint of stout from Barney as well. So.
All right, not a problem. It's actually his wife, Betsy, that is the barmaid here, and she takes your order and serves up a pint for you right away. And for you, it's big. A pint to a hobbit.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I'll head over with my pint. Carefully moving, using my hobbit elusiveness to make sure that I don't get my pint knocked over, and I make it over to the barber.
Okay. He is engaged in conversation with 2 other people.
I'll wait for a sort of a pause in the discussion and sort of clear my throat. Pardon me, good barber. May I speak with you for a moment?
He looks down and says, "Oh, what can I do for you, Master Hobbit?"
We've just come off the road, and one of us was hurt, and we're hoping that you may be able to help.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry to hear that. How's the extent of the injuries? Serious?
Potentially quite serious, I'm afraid.
Oh, and where's this friend of yours now?
Would you like to follow me, please, good sir?
Most certainly. I don't have my tools with me, though.
Shall we make a side trip then to your?
Well, let me take a look at your friend first and see what I need. Perhaps I can help without having full use of my tools.
And of course, please follow me. It is of the urgent nature.
Of course. And he turns out to his two friends that he's been drinking with. If you'll excuse me, gentlemen, I have business to attend to. And you can see as he gets up, he kind of lurches a little. And he's a little off balance.
It's okay. You won't have shakes then.
All right. While you are escorting the barber out, is there anything else you'd like to do?
Do a quick survey of the room, see if there's any unusual type folks there.
Sure. Go ahead and make a perception check.
I'm too low.
Yeah, too low, and you're carrying a big pint of beer. This kind of priorities. Meantime, Marigold, you rush out to the cart to pick up your. What are you getting?
I'm going to get the silver inlaid box because I'm to take that to the dwarf, the dwarf mason in Bree, and I saw a dwarf, and so I'm gonna hope that he's also a mason, or she. I don't know. I can never tell. It's the beards. And I'm going to. What could I safely carry with me back in for Barney? Like 2 jars, maybe.
Well, they'll come in like small like wooden crates that you kind of pack with the jars. So you can probably just grab one of those.
All right, yeah, that's fine. And just make sure the box is sitting nicely on top of it, and call that good. And definitely take a look around. I know Turk made a big deal about how these young hobbits were supposed to be looking out after the cart. Does it look like they are?
Yeah, they are. They put it in a special kind of spot at the back of the stable where they're not going to be like walked past a lot. They kind of like a quieter area. And there's one of them always watching it. They're watching it.
And I'll hazard a peek, maybe pull the blanket back the slightest bit. I'm hoping there's still color on this woman's face.
She does not have much longer. She's lost a lot of blood, even with the tourniquet, and it's been a rough journey for her.
Okay. So I'm going to walk quickly, but not make it look like I'm rushing back with my crated jars of honey and my inlaid box atop it.
Okay.
Walk casually, but not too casually.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm going to hope that I can bump into Turk either in the common room, or maybe even luckily on his way out with this barber to help.
Yeah, we'll say that you just at the entrance of the inn, as you're returning with your cargo, he's leaving with this gentleman who's slurring his speech and stumbling a little bit.
I'll try to catch Turk's eye and just give him a little shake. It's not looking good.
I know. Turk says, "Yes, I know. We're trying to get him there." So
is this
and Turk steers the barber, in the right direction.
And we'll pass, I suppose, as I head back in on my own business.
Okay, and where do you go with your jars of honey in your chest?
I'm going to kind of weave my way through the common room there over towards this dwarf who is keeping themselves quiet and keeping to themselves.
Well, he sees you approach, and his face immediately lights up. He gets like a toothy grin, ear to ear, and says, "Ah, what a pleasant surprise! Please, 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 take a seat."
Sir, I do apologize to interrupt your evening. What is your trade?
Well, what do I not trade in? I'm an explorer. I'm an adventurer. I am a mason. I am a jeweler. What are you in need of, young lady?
I'm looking for the dwarf mason of Bree.
Well, you have found him. Please have a seat.
I'd be happy to, and I'll set my wooden crate down and put both my hands atop the box.
Mhm.
And sir, may I ask you your name? I'm Marigold, of Newbury.
Oh, how rude of me. My name is Jari.
I see. Well, sir, my father asked that I. My father asked that that I might have some business with you, or that he might have some unfinished business for you, in a means of returning this box.
He looked at the box. Oh my! I haven't seen that box in quite some time. How fortunate that you found me in Bree, of all places. Please, may I have a look?
What business did you have with my father?
That was some time ago, and I fear I've had far too many ales between then and now to remember quite clearly, but I do remember him being a good man, an honest man, one who can keep a secret and a deal, more importantly.
Do you remember his name, sir?
I believe he was a hobbit. At this point, we have Zuric. You are still kind of pondering what just happened in your workshop.
I do apologize. I just have to scamper for a second.
Okay.
Actually, could we take a quick break? Because I need to go use the bathroom.
Sure. Go ahead. Actually, do you mind if we play through with Zuric while you're AFK? No. I'm recording this anyway, so you can play this back. Okay.
Yeah.
Zuric, what do you do now?
So, just contemplating, playing back what that stranger said, but mainly fixated on his claims that my father has perished. So I can't quite process all that he said, because that's sort of, rocking my world paradigm. So that just the words, the threat, it all just keeps playing back in my head, and I think I just sort of like start going a little bit, too emotional in my own head. So I would say Zuric at some point would just stand up and maybe tug on his clothes and tug on his beard and mop his forehead And he's going to head to the door, but just as he heads to the door of his workshop, he's going to turn back and look at the table that was by the hearth to see if the stranger left his dagger behind.
He did indeed.
All right, so as Zuric puts on his cloak and gets ready to lock up the workshop for the day, he'll go back to the table, grab the dagger, grab the leather sheath that he had one of his chisels in, and lay the chisel on the workbench and put the dagger in the leather sheath
Okay.
and tuck it in the back. Yep.
I should tell you, it's more of a stiletto than a dagger. So it just kind of rattles around in there.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Then he'll put it in his pouch, along with his coin and keys. I think they had keys. Keys to the workshop. So he'll take the stiletto and put it in his pouch and again just sort of tug on his beard and slough off the world rocking news. And sure, his life was threatened, but that's not the first time that's happened. He's a stranger in a strange land. So he'll just tighten up his cloak and head to the tavern for a late night nightcap, locking the workshop, put the fire out, lock up the workshop behind him, and head out.
All right. You make your way to the Prancing Pony. And as you approach, you see some activity at the door, a couple of hobbits. One leaving with looks like some. You recognize him as the barber, leaving the building, and you see another young female hobbit entering with what looks to be a crate. Perhaps she's a servant or something, running in with them some supplies or something for their kitchen. And you follow the young girl in. She approaches. Actually, make a perception check for me, please, as you enter the common room.
How do I do skill checks? I highlight the skill.
You just click on it. You click on it, and then the middle area by the big white die, one thing that say check or use. I forget which one it says.
Oh, check. Okay.
Yeah. And then if you hold it up or down, you go advantage or disadvantage. Okay, 16. That's good.
Okay.
So you managed to watch as the young hobbit lady approaches another dwarf in the common room. Now, dwarves come and go through Bree, and they often stop through at the Prancing Pony on their journeys along the Great East-West Road. So it's not uncommon to see other dwarves in here. Barney sees you come in and says, welcome back, Zuric. The usual?
Yep. I'll take my spot at the corner of the bar.
All right.
End of the bar.
Let's see, the usual for our friend here. Can you make a perception check for me, please, Marigold? All right. Unfortunately, you do not see this other dwarf walk in behind you. All right. I'm going to shift a little bit now and go back to our friend Turk and the barber, who have left the building and are heading to the stables.
So we enter the stables, and where are the two young stable hands?
Well, one of them is taking care of the pony, still just kind of taking all the harnessing off and just trying to wipe it down, rub it down. You see another one actually coming back in from the front, leading these two gorgeous black horses. And he's kind of guiding them into the stables himself. But, so there's They're occupied, but they're nearby.
Okay. I'll say, fellas, can you go to the other end of the stables and do that? Take those two black beauties and our sad little pony and Ted. Ted's his name, by the way. He responds well to Ted, and just wipe him down. What do they call it? They have a sweat scraper, I think,
Mhm.
that they use. Yeah. There should be, go down to that other end here. I've got to deal with some things over here, and we don't want any more attention. You know what I'm saying?
Nob, the young hobbit closest to you, who's taking care of Ted, just kind of looks up at you and says, "But sir, I got him all rigged up here."
Well, go help with the two black horses then. Go help your friend with the two black horses. Oh yeah, down at the other end of the stables. You know what I'm saying, right?
Okay.
Come on, fellas.
Okay. And he looks up at Ted. Hang on there, boy. I'll be right back. And he
Ted'll be fine. Ted'll be fine. So I take the barber and we go to the end of the cart and say, we've got a friend who's in bad shape, and we've tried to get her here to Bree, and here she is. What can you do, Doc?
And you pull back the tarp and or the blanket, and you reveal her. Okay, I just have to make a roll for him. He looks at her, and surprisingly, he doesn't faint or he doesn't scream. He gets almost a serious look on his face and says, "How long has she been like this?"
At least since yesterday. Or the day before. I lost track of time.
He climbs up into the cart before you even have a chance to finish your sentence, and he starts like taking her pulse, trying to check out the dressings, and he says, "Who did this?" As he's looking at the tourniquet on her leg. She's likely lost her leg from this. I'm going to have to take that leg right off.
Oh my. Are you sure?
He just looks at her. Young man, I don't know if I can save her.
You're our only hope unless you have, someone else.
He's just kind of sitting there scratching his head saying, "The wound is infected. Her leg is gone. She's lost so much blood. She's barely breathing. I can hear the rattling in her chest. It's not looking good, man."
I know, we know. We got here as soon as we could.
I don't know. I'm unless you have some elf magic to help her. This is beyond me. I'm truly sorry. Were you close with her?
Well, as close as two people can be who just met each other.
I'm sorry, young man.
Do you know where we can go? Can you steer us in a good direction?
The best I could do is perhaps ease the suffering, and you can take her to the mortician.
Oof. That's a little premature if she's still alive. You mean ease the suffering as in
the pain. If she feels anything now at all.
out of game question?
Mm-hmm.
So we've been coming in and out. There are 2 beautiful black horses that just came in.
Mhm.
Did we see the riders? Did I
No,
see the riders? No.
no.
Okay.
Make a perception check for me, though, please. Okay. Out of the corner of your eye, you do see one of the young hobbits, Bob, just kind of listening in conversation. He's like, the way he's like brushing the horses is really slow as he's obviously listening to what you're saying.
Bob, do you have anything that you can add to this conversation?
He looks a little startled. He jumps a little bit when you say his name. Oh, no, good master. I was just taking care of the horses here. Don't mind me, sir.
No, Bob. If you have something to add, please do. Maybe you might know where somebody can get some extra special healing.
No, sir. I don't. I'm just a stable boy. If the good barber cannot help her, I dare say I don't know anyone who could.
You don't know any elf healers? Have you seen any elves lately?
No. Elves don't come through Bree that often, sir. Count myself lucky if I ever see an elf.
Yes, I know. I haven't seen one either. Well, perhaps you can, good barber, where is the Undertaker?
Oh, I was talking to him back in the inn. We can go back in and share a pint. And have a conversation with him then.
Okay.
And he just kind of pulls the blanket over the woman again and says, "Oh, poor lass."
Perhaps you have something. Do you have anything on you, or do we need to perhaps get something from your
No.
establishment?
No, nothing on me. I could go back to my place, but I think she's not going anywhere. And I think I need a good stiff drink first.
I hear you.
So he kind of stumbles back out of the cart. He just kind of puts one hand to his head as if like, what did he kind of still reeling a bit from what he has just seen. And he starts to stumble his way back in towards the inn. Okay. Do you follow him?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. Zuric, you are sitting at the bar, nursing your drink. When you see 2 individuals walk in, tall individuals, matching the descriptions of Maidhon and Yucaliel. Maidhon and Yucaliel, you walk in, and Barney greets you. It's a busy night tonight. Who may I say is calling upon the Inn of the Prancing Pony tonight?
You may call me Steelgazer, and this is my traveling companion, Callie.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance. It's a horrible night to be traveling on these roads, and hope you can make your stay here a little bit more comfortable tonight. I understand you have 2 horses, and I assume you'd need a room?
Ideally, yes.
He just kind of looks down at his papers 1 second and looks back up at you and says, would that be 1 or 2 rooms?
Yucaliel just kind of looks over at Maidhon, kind of confused. How many beds are normally in a room?
That's a good question. How many beds per room, sir?
Well, I do have all sorts of rooms with beds, multiple beds. He kind of gives you one. I do have a honeymoon suite available.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessary.
Okay,
One
okay.
room, 2 beds.
One room, 2 beds it is. Very good. And he swings the book around to have you both sign it.
All right.
And what do you sign it as?
I just sign as Callie. No
Okay.
last name because she didn't really think about that. So I just signed it as Callie.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Steel Gazer?
So he signs it with just the oh god, and now I have to stretch my memory for this. No, I'm not going to stretch my memory. It's the rune for the letter S, basically.
Okay. All right. He looks at the signatures. Mysterious one. He turns it around again, signs his name next to it, and says, "Very good then, Mr. Steelgazer and Lady Callie, welcome to the Inn of the Prancing Pony." And he turns around and yells to the common room, "Oh, welcome! Raise a glass to our new guests here tonight, Steelgazer and his lovely guest, Callie." And you hear a cheer go up from the crowd as people hold up their mugs to welcome you into the common room. You see an assortment of people here. You see a dwarf sitting at the bar. You see another dwarf talking to a hobbit at a table. You see 3 men sitting by a fire. And then kind of coming in almost on your heels is a drunken man, followed by another hobbit.
I think I'm going to sort of still speaking really quietly. Uh, ask the innkeeper before he like steps away from us. Um, I'll just say, I heard you say there's been a lot of uh, a lot of people coming in tonight. Have you seen a Dunlending woman?
And he looks at you, so we don't get many Dunlanders up in this part. It is quite far from where they usually travel. I can't say that I have. We have some folk over from Dale, as he points to the 3 people sitting by the hearth. We have a dwarf from the Blue Mountains, and of course yourselves. The most of the rest of the folk here are local. We do have some good hobbits with us tonight.
Thank you. That'll be fine. And keeping like she she probably looks really obvious because she is not taking her hood off. She is straight up Strider in the, in the place. It's like really dark hood.
Yeah.
Um, but she does let Maidhon lead the way to where they should be sitting.
Maidhon, where would that be?
Find a small table, like in a corner, away from the main part of the crowd.
Okay. I'm going to go back to Marigold and her interaction with the dwarf, who's very interested in this box that you say that he believes is his now.
Quick question.
Yes.
This nook that we find, how close is it to this conversation?
Let me see. I actually do have a map of this. This is actually quite a large room, and it's quite full. And he picked a rather secluded spot himself, so it would not be that close, unfortunately. There would be easily like 20 feet of tables and voices and stuff between you and them.
All right. Can I see the dwarf?
Yeah, you have a good vantage point of the room from where you are at. It's a pretty open room.
Good to know.
All right. And so, Marigold, he's starting to reach for the box.
Oh, sir, while you think on that, why don't I see if I can get you another half pint and take care of my business with Mr. Barney? This honey's for him, sir.
Oh, you can just leave the box here with me. I'll take care.
I'll politely excuse myself and start
But
making my
miss,
way
that's my box.
I'll make sure it comes back to you, sir, as soon as you remember the business you had with my father.
But I do remember.
Maybe when you're less in your cup, sir.
And you can see him starting to get visibly upset, and he's saying, "You're a thief!" And he kind of yells us across the room, and heads all turn and look at you.
Sir, how could I be a thief if I just came in the evening? And I'll say good evening to him, and I'll make my way to the bar where I'm hoping Barney is.
Barney is actually near the front entrance. His wife is kind of attending the bar mainly.
His wife's attending the bar?
But you do see another dwarf sitting at the bar.
Okay, yeah, so I will make my way to... I've already heard it's Mrs. Barney.
Betsy Butterbur.
Butterbur. And I'll excuse myself and apologize for interrupting your evening. And I'll take the silver box off of it, leaving it under one hand. And I'll point out just 5 jars from this basket of what I would think would be 6. I mean, no sense making a rectangle to just fit 5. So, and explain to her that I had a deal with your husband, and we're providing some Banks Farms honey to the inn, ma'am.
That's so kind of you. It's just straight from the Shire, then.
Oh, Buckland, ma'am. And our bees graze on wildflowers out of the old wood.
Oh, how lovely! Thank you so much. And she just happily
all
takes
but a jar is for you, and I'll pull the last jar from it to keep.
Okay. Can you make a perception check for me, please?
Of course.
I love how she stays on brand every time she talks about the honey.
Come on. There we go. Please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please.
All right. You feel a presence just kind of lurking over your shoulder. You kind of glance over, and there's the dwarf, kind of standing there, reaching kind of around you and trying to also put his hand on the box and says, "Young lady, I'm afraid there was some misunderstanding. Of course, I remember your father. Good man. A beekeeper, I understand, if I recall correctly."
Sir, I have no business further with you this evening. I apologize for misunderstanding that there may have been between the two of us, but you certainly are not the dwarf that I was sent to find.
Zuric, you clearly overhear this conversation since you're sitting at the bar too.
Zuric will peek an ear but not turn his head.
Okay. Yes. Were you not sent here to find a dwarf, Inbree, a mason at that, which I am?
Well,
And
sir, as far as I know, all dwarves are masons.
That's a little racist. But I just happen to be one anyway. But yes, that's besides the point. This box belongs to me. I left it in good hands with your father, and I find it rather obnoxious that his very own daughter would refuse to return it to me. This is causing quite a ruckus, by the way, in the Prancing Pony, and people are kind of watching this unfold. All of you are aware of this conversation as well.
Does Zuric recognize this other dwarf?
No, you do not recognize him. But make a make a perception check for me, please. With advantage, please. All right. You do not know this dwarf, but the way he dresses, the way he wears his braids and his hair is reminiscent of people from your old home, where you came from in the Blue Mountains.
But Zuric thinks to himself, he's just appearing a little obnoxious. He's one of those talky dwarves. He'll just grumble to himself and put his chin back down, not too inclined to get mixed up in other people's business.
All right. Turk, you also see your friend Marigold at this bar having this rather unpleasant conversation with this dwarf. As you're being kind of guided back towards the table where the barber was going to introduce you to the mortician.
So loud tavern conversations, people moving about. Is my cousin in any, do I perceive any kind of trouble going on here? Is the dwarf actually literally trying to pull the box out of her hands?
I have two things for you to roll. Perception and insight for me, please.
In which order?
Either one. It'll come up and tell me which one you're rolling, unless you're just... Yeah, there you go. 19 perception. Insight. All right. With your 19 perception, you can see that he's clearly reaching for the box. Marigold seems to try to keep him out of his reach. With a 16 insight, Marigold, can you describe Marigold's state of mind at this point in time, like what you would see her?
Marigold's definitely getting frustrated. Like, this is one of those times where she's realized she's made a mistake. She has, taken what steps she could to correct the mistake, and was even polite about it, and offered the good man a half pint, which is a proper hobbit-sized portion of ale. So yeah, a little frazzled, but not to the point where she feels things are wholly out of control.
Okay. So the dwarf, realizing that people are starting to watch, and this has gathered a little bit of attention, pulls back a bit and says, this must have been just a misunderstanding. I do apologize.
From leaving one hand on the box, on the bar top, I will bob a very shallow curtsy so as not to lose my leverage, and say, I'm thankful that we've come to an understanding. I apologize for the confusion, good sir.
Oh, no. The box is still mine. But I'm simply apologizing for my rudeness. I'm just
Miss
so...
Betsy.
Sorry?
Miss Betsy.
And Miss Betsy comes and says, yes, dear, what can I get for you?
Is this man before me the long-working mason of Bree?
His last. No. He points at Zuric, the other dwarf at the bar. He is.
And there I think we have the misunderstanding, sir. This is not yours. And my father would be quite disappointed in me if I failed to deliver it to its proper owner, whom you are not.
He looks rather flustered at this. He seems to notice the other dwarf at the bar for the very first time and says, "You're making a grave mistake, young lady. That box is a family heirloom of mine. It should return to me, its rightful owner and heir."
I'll leave that for you two good dwarves to, unravel. But if you are not the Mason of Bree, sir,
Well, I could be the Mason
Then
of Bree.
and I'll turn to Zuric, who I haven't even introduced myself to yet, and just, could this man take your job then, good Sir Dwarf?
Guffrin, or sorry, Guffrin, oh my god. Zurich turns his head and looks at the fracas and slides both palms on the bar top and pushes himself off his bar stool to walk towards a couple steps towards the other dwarf and whoever he's talking to. And he'll walk over and ignore the little ones and just stand squarely at the other dwarf and says, "What brings you from the mountain, my kin?"
It says, so good to meet another kinsman. And he just kind of jumps back and tries to get you into an embrace. Do you allow him to?
Reluctantly, yes. Kind of like a distance hug kind of thing.
All right. He says, "Oh, well,
Not loving it, but I'll allow it."
Well, my brother, this young hobbit here seems to cannot get her dwarfs straight. That box is clearly mine. I recognize it. It was my father's. It was meant to be given to me, but yet she refuses to relinquish it."
Zurich will divert his gaze from the dwarf and look at the hobbit from hairy foot to top of head. And he'll say to the hobbit, what say you?"
My father, the master of Banks Farms of Newbury, asked me to deliver this box to the dwarf mason of Bree. This man is a dwarf, and he is a mason. But Miss Betsy says that you are the mason of Bree. Is that so?
Yes, that is so.
Then this is yours, sir. And I apologize for any misunderstanding between the two of us. And I'll gesture with my jar of honey to the dwarf who's being a little bit of a rapscallion.
Zurich will take the box, put it under his arm, and then he'll look back to the other dwarf and says, "Looks like the misunderstanding has been resolved. Come and sit next to the bar. So come and sit at the bar with me. I have some questions I want to ask you."
He looks a little flabbergasted, and he makes to say as if to insist the box is still his. But then he gets a closer look at you, and you easily outsize him. He's not for a dwarf, he's more like Ori or Nori, the more slender kind of dwarf, as opposed to the bulkier kind. And thinks better of it. Lets out a big sigh and says, "Well, the least you can do is buy your kin an ale."
Of course. Grab the bench next to me.
All right. He pulls up a bench beside you, and he is like eyeing. He cannot take his eyes off this box. He's got to know what's inside it now.
Zuric will look past him at the hobbits and say, "You've made your delivery. On your way."
And holding my jar of honey close to my breast, I will bob a proper curtsy and say, "Thank you, and have a good evening to you, Master Mason." And I will go and find Turk after excusing myself.
All right. In all of this time, are Maidhon and Yucaliel doing anything, or just kind of taking all this in? You've observed this whole conversation, this whole interaction.
Maidhon
Yeah, go ahead.
Maidhon has lit a pipe, and he has just been idly puffing on it while watching this little altercation unfold.
Yeah, Yucaliel was watching it just to make sure that like things didn't get violent. But she's actually writing in like a journal. She's keeping a journal of her adventures because it's going to be her only one. So she's writing, but she's being kind of stupid because she's writing it in Quenya, even though she's not, you know, she's not supposed to be obvious about the
Okay. And
fact that she's an elf. She's just second nature, so she's just writing in her journal.
okay.
Oh. No one here can read anyway, except maybe the
but they can notice that it's not like normal.
Yeah.
Where is your raven?
And Maidhon.
When we came in, I told Fandil to stay in the rafters with the horses.
All right.
To stay dry, but you know, not to come inside.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, Maidhon, you were going to add something?
Say Maidhon. Yeah, Maidhon has been blowing smoke rings, but he's been blowing them in patterns so that they shroud the table that he and Yucaliel are sitting at without getting in Yucaliel's face.
Nice.
I'm going to have you roll something for that.
So there's a okay.
So pipe smoking skills, depending on what kind of it is.
I mean, technically,
you gotta have pipe lord to do that.
There is actually a pipe tool skill.
There is. If you have that, then you can add your proficiency. Otherwise, this is going to be a straight, say, dex to see how well you're able to control your smoke rings.
All right. Well, shucks. I have a pretty good dex, but I don't know if it's high enough.
Yucaliel begins coughing. No.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. Yeah. Not bad. Not bad. Yeah, so you managed to like shroud your table a little bit with this cloud of pipe smoke. Or proficiency.
He's not trying to make like fancy shapes or anything.
Yep. And luckily, none of it gets into Yucaliel's eyes.
Yeah, he's not trying to make like the shape of a swan boat or anything. He's just the tendrils wrapping around the table.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Tarek, do you follow the barber back to the table to have that conversation with the mortician?
Well, when we first came in, there was that. Well, altercation is a little bit of a strong word, but I saw that my cousin was able to handle herself. Most impressed cousin. And I will then follow the barber back to the undertaker.
Okay. You are sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how far away is that table going to be from us?
That'll be closer to you.
Yucaliel and Maidhon.
That'll be closer to you.
Okay.
Like basically one almost one table over from you.
Okay, good.
And the barber sits down and says, "Geralt, I think you're going to have another customer in the morning. This young hobbit has a friend in dire straits. I don't think she'll make the night." And the mortician Geralt just looks at you and says, "Well, bring her by in the morning." And you can see that he's like can barely keep his head up at this point. He's like been drinking all night. Nothing we can do for her tonight.
Is
I've got a question for you, sir, before you head off this evening. Do you know of any customs? I believe she's one of those young women from further south, Duneening girls.
I immediately poke Maidhon.
You mean a Dunlander?
I
What's a
don't mean
Dunlander
to.
doing in Bree? And how did the Hobbit know a Dunlander?
This is a long story, sir, and we can keep this to the next day.
Oh, no. That's what we're here for. Regale us with your tales, Hobbit.
Well,
And so the barber says, "Yes, tell me, how did you come across that poor lady lying half dead in the back of your cart in the stables?" And you see more faces kind of turn towards you as he says this.
I think I'm gonna get up and go outside.
well, my cousins and I were traveling up from down south, up along the road towards Buckleberry Bridge, Brandywine Bridge. Is that not the Buckle? No, that's the Buckleberry Ferry that we missed. We didn't get the Buckleberry Ferry. It was on the other side of the river. So we had to go up to the bridge. And while we were traveling, it was raining so hard, and the cart slipped off the road at one point because the donkey was just out of control. And then there were these bounders who were just causing all of this fright about families missing other people and all of this confusion, I'm telling you. And then, there she was, and we helped her up, and she started to die on us.
Like you do.
Yeah, just randomly, she started dying.
Can you make a performance check for me, please?
Advantage? Everyone's drunk.
Yeah, I'll give you advantage on this. Yeah, that's good.
She was literally dying to meet you. But tis.
Oh no.
All right. The people at your immediate table are enthralled that this hobbit had such a crazy adventure leading to this poor woman in the back of your car in the stables right now. However, there are some other people in this tavern. Can you make a perception check for me, please? Yes.
Okay.
There are some other people.
Did they have hoods up?
Well, you do notice a strange, perhaps woman in the corner behind a cloud of smoke with a cloak hood over her face. Maybe a woman, you don't know, because hood's over the face, and who knows. But there is one other individual in this place that seems to be paying extra attention to you. It is a man that's kind of sitting off to one side. No one really ever noticed him. He's just kind of blending in with all the locals. Wears a dark cloak, hood down though, not up. Kind of a beard, dark hair. Kind of almost has like Viking-like features, but no paint or anything like that. He is listening intently on everything you're saying. And as soon as he sees you notice him listening, he gets up, picks up his pint, and walks and leaves.
I will say that while I was listening to this story, when I heard, Dunlending woman injured, I got up and was heading out to the stables because I heard that she was in the stables. Um, so I also would be leaving at
Okay.
somewhere around the
Everyone's
same
heading
time.
towards the stables.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maidhon would also have gotten up as soon as Yucaliel got up.
hmm
Okay. And what are you doing, Turk? Are you continue on with your story? Or you see these individuals all kind of get up and leave? It's quite obvious that they had heard your tale.
I will wrap up my tale and say, you'll have to buy pints. If you want to hear the rest of it, I have to go to the loo. I'll be right back for that pint.
All right. They call over Betsy for another pint for the Hobbit to hear the conclusion of your story.
And I'll head off towards the loo,
Okay.
aka the stable.
All right.
And
Marigold?
I'll try to grab my cousin on the way, since she's already given the box.
Okay.
Right?
Marigold, you follow along?
Well, yeah, if my plan was to catch back up with Turk and he's leaving now, I'll have to go scampering after him like a little, tail to a comet.
Okay. And finally, Zuric, you're sitting at the bar with this other dwarf, who, I mean, you both hear the story of what's going on over there, but he's still much more interested in the box. He does introduce himself, by the way, as Jari. And so, are you going to open it, my friend?
Zuric is not quite letting his guard down. He's going to ignore that question and say, "What news have you from the mountain?"
Oh, I haven't been that way for quite some time. It's been, what, maybe 5 years or so since I came by that way. I have no plans on going back. My life is out here now. Perhaps we can work together. We can form a partnership. Jari and what is your name?
What were things like when you left the mountain 5 years ago?
Oh, maybe I'll just say Jari and friend, Masons of Bree. How does that sound to you? That sounds fabulous to me.
Do you travel the roads from here to there?
Oh, I do. I've been a merchant. I've been an explorer, adventurer. I've traveled the road between the White Towers and Bree many times over.
Have you come across any other dwarves traveling
Oh, many.
on the open road?
Many travel between the Blue Mountains and the Misty Mountains and beyond Erebor. My, that is a fancy-looking box.
It looks like you're almost done with your ale there.
Yes, care to buy me another one?
No.
I see. You haven't had the chance to meet anyone from the Blue Mountains recently. It's been a while, I assume.
Yeah, I better be going.
No, stay a
Get out of the
while. Stay a while. We can catch up and share stories of our memories of the Blue Mountains. Oh, how glorious they were! Halls filled with gold and whatnot.
Why don't you tell me one and I'll sit back down?
Where to start? Oh, I'll tell you something. And he gestures you to lean in closer, and he lowers his voice. Says, I'm actually here to find some treasure. My uncle, you see, he hid a stash of gold up in the north, just in the marshes just north of here. Only I know where it is, but look at me. I'm not the fighting type, but you're a strong, burly dwarf. Perhaps you can help me.
I like the ore as much as the next Kazud. But that's not my... It's not what I'm interested in right now.
Oh, a dwarf not
Why are
interested in gold? What? You spent
Not-
far too
not-
long here in Bree, my friend.
Not right now. Not right now. Why are you so interested in my box?
Well, up until a moment ago, I was certain it was my box. And I'm still actually not unsure that it is not my box.
Well, I'm sure it's not your box. Do you know those
Well-
hobbits that brought it in?
No, but I am friends with hobbits. I do frequent the Shire many a time. It would not be unheard of for me to stop by at a beekeeper's place for a nice lunch or two. And now that I think about it, I think I do recall that nice young hobbit's father. Buckland, I think he was from. Yes. So, perhaps we can settle this once and for all. Open up the box, and we will know right away who it belongs to.
Zuric will stare him down. Put your hands on your knees.
Of course. 'Cause, okay, he puts his hands on his knees.
Zuric will open the box 1 inch to peer inside.
All right. Inside, you see two items. They're kind of one is set in a almost like a velvet kind of lining, like a jewelry box. A beautiful medallion, which I will show you here. Oops. Where did it go? No, where did it go? Oh, wrong folder. Sorry. There, this one. Sorry. I had to find it again. This. Easily 3 inches, a 3-inch square gold amulet or pendant, inlaid with rubies and what looked to be like turquoise stones, and resting on top of it, a folded letter.
At the sight of that, Zuric will clap the top of the box shut and stare at Jari and say, "Do you have intent to take this from me?"
Well, obviously, if the box belongs to me, then of course it belongs with me.
The box does not belong to you.
But you say that. You saw what was inside. I did not see what was inside it. How am I to know? You could be robbing me. I hate to accuse my kin of such a horrible deed, but I don't know you.
You, my brother, are being dishonest. You are not the dwarf mason of Bree. Why do you...
Well, I am a mason.
why do
I am
you-
in Bree.
Tell me one thing about the Blue Mountains to prove that that's where you are from. Tell me something only a Khazad from the Blue Mountains would know.
You and I likely both hail from an old hold called Harmelt in the southern range. There, the halls are lined with gold, the plates and the cutlery. A picture of opulence and wealth. The lord there is Mulin. Is there anything else you would like to know?
We'll think back to his time in Blue Mountains a decade ago. Was Lord Mulin?
Mulin, yeah, he was the leader. Yeah.
Again, I say you are dishonest. You are not the Mason of Bree.
Well, I say this is a simple way to solve this. Let's open the box together. I mean, you have already done it without my participation or consent. Or I feel it's only fair that I should know what's in the box too.
There's an amulet set with gems in the box.
Gold?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And how do you know that this is your amulet and not mine? I believe my family had an heirloom, a gold amulet heirloom set with gems.
The hobbits who brought the box said it was for the dwarf Mason of Bree. That is me.
Simple misunderstanding can be simply cleared up. Let me take a look at this amulet, and I can tell you straight away, whether it is my family heirloom or not.
No.
You, my good sir, are a hard man to bargain with. Let me buy you another
pint. To
pint.
be the case. I don't find that to be the case. I've been 100% honest with you since we sat down.
Yeah. Betsy, another pint for my friend here. Betsy, when she looks, it just kind of gives you a questioning look, Zuric, because she knows you, she does not know him. So she's waiting for you to give consent.
Zuric will shrug his shoulders as if to say, you can put it in front of me if he pays for it. Doesn't mean I'll drink it.
She gives you a nod and pulls out two more pints.
Zuric will look past Jari and look for where the hobbits scampered off to.
Everyone, there seems to be an exodus leaving the Prancing Pony. You see one man leave, then a hooded, cloaked figure leave, followed by what looks to be a ranger, followed by a couple of hobbits. It's quite an exodus.
Getting near closing time. Tell me more about this family heirloom.
Well, it's gold and inlaid with gems.
As is most all jewelry that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Anything special about your heirloom?
I know it was very important to my family. I was just only a child when I last saw it, and my grandfather had promised it to me when I'd grown up. It is only fitting that he would leave it in the Shire with a hobbit that he would know that I would frequent.
Meet me here tomorrow at the same time.
You're not going to leave town with my family heirloom, are you?
No. This is my home now. This is where I live.
Oh, yes. You are the Masons of Bree. Yes, I do recall that now. Perhaps I'll visit you tomorrow then at your workshop.
Meet me here at the tavern this time tomorrow. That's what I said.
I'm sure we'll see each other around town. It's not a very big city.
Not if I see you first. And I'll push the ale away and get off my bar stool, box under my arm, and head to the door.
All right. You see him just blast back his own pint, wipe his mouth quickly and greedily, and just kind of follow you out the door.
He's following me out the door.
Yes, he's following you out the door.
All right. Zuric, we'll just keep going.
Does not take a hint.
All right. So you are all at the stable now. I'm just going to bring you back to this thing here. The first to arrive. Both can Maidhon and Yucaliel please make perception tests for me, please?
Oh, you cut out. Did you say perception check?
Yes, perception, please.
Okay. All right.
Do something here that will help the performance a bit, I hope.
Maidhon hits his head on the sign as he exits.
I'm keen-eyed. I can see. It's a little dark for you, young man.
Okay. You see the man that left before you.
No, Yucaliel would never say something like that.
The man that left before you, he is also making his way to the stables. He notices you following him, and Yucaliel, you notice a couple of hobbits following you. Is there anything you'd like to do at this point?
I don't think I'm concerned about the hobbits because I'm pretty sure that the hobbits are, the ones who were accompanying this person, but the man is in front of me. I think I will ask Maidhon to distract the man for me so that I can get to the stables.
All right. I guess Maidhon will, quicken his pace, heading after the man. And is he able to catch up with him before he reaches the stables?
If you rush up, yes, you can easily catch him.
Okay, I don't know if I want to move quickly, but I don't want to rush up such that he would be alerted and round on me,
Okay, you can make a stealth check if you like.
Yeah. These
right.
rolls.
Maidhon is not having a good night tonight.
Splash, splash, splurge, splurge.
Exactly.
You mean you can't walk on top of the mud?
Well, the
Like
thing
an
is,
elf?
the thing is that I'm failing at everything that a ranger is supposed to be good at.
Yes, this is true. It's just, Maidhon's no good, very bad day. It's fine.
Yeah, apparently. Late meeting, can't sneak up on a single dude in the middle of the street.
He hears you, whirls around, his hand clearly on the hilt of a weapon. And actually, that's where we'll end tonight.
No.
Oh no.
I just have one quick question for Zuric before we go. With the box under your arm, where were you intending on going?
Back to my flat.
Okay.
Do I live at my workshop, or do I have a separate?
Yeah, no, you live at your workshop.
Okay, back to the workshop.
Okay. You kind of pass by the alleyway towards the stable as you're going, and you kind of go ahead and make a perception check actually for me, please. All right. You do notice the black cloaked figure kind of whirling around to face this ranger, and looks like he's going for a weapon. Do you want to continue to your apartment or stop?
I will walk noticeably slower and keep an eye on that annoying dwarf who's following me,
Okay.
and keep an eye on whatever is about to happen near the stables.
All right. So as you slow your pace, Jari, the other dwarf that's following you, kind of slows his pace too, just kind of starts looking around, whistling, trying to pretend he's not there. All right. So that's okay. That's where I just want to know if you want to.
Is this still raining?
It is. The rain has let up a little. So it's really just mud, sodden roads right now.
All right.
So I just wanted to remind you, there is also a letter in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
That's why. That's just for meta. Whatever. My objective is to get back to my workshop, lock the door, and read the letter.
Okay. Well, we'll pick up on that in the next session to see what that letter actually says and what unfolds in this alley towards the stable.
What am I seeing in the alley? I'm seeing a guy in a black cloak, two guys in black cloaks.
I don't know. Is Maidhon also wearing a black cloak?
It's more of like a gray.
Green.
Green.
Any little people running around?
Well, yeah, behind Maidhon there is a tall, I guess a more slender figure wearing a dark cloak as well. And behind that individual are two hobbits kind of like scrambling after them.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so that's definitely something I don't see every day. And
would he not recognize one of the hobbits as being the one who had the box originally?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah,
I would think if it's dark, maybe not, but maybe I would.
With a 15 perception, yeah, you would have clocked that it is the young female hobbit that had given you the box in the first place.
And that's where my attention is drawn, and I definitely will slow the pace to keep an eye on what's going on there.
Yeah, and likely 3 hobbits, because Goldie will be here next session too.
Okay. Yep.
All right. So
okay, so what time do we play tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow I'm finishing my Pathfinder campaign.
I can't wait. Too many cool things happen. I don't know what I'm gonna do. When will we play again?
In 2 weeks.
Oh god, it's gonna be a long 2 weeks. Oh god.
All right.
That was awesome.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
and we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks then.
Yep. Sounds good.
See you guys. Bye.
Later, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Thanks. Good game.